literary house party with me, Kate Helm, Kate Harrison. I am doing these house parties for a bit of fun of a lunchtime, but also because I have written a book called The House Share, which is all about how it can go really badly wrong when you are living with people that you're not related to and who may be holding all sorts of secrets. So over the next 10 days, I am going to be chatting to some of your favourite writers about their house share experiences and also get a little insight of what they are like to live with and how their books are informed by maybe some of the experiences that they've had in the past. And today is an extra special day as well, because today my book is actually published. The House Share is out today. So obviously I will have to do a gratuitous plug a bit later. But before I do that, I would like to welcome our special guest today. And our special guest is the amazing C.L.TAYLOR.
Hiya.
Known to her friends and to everyone watching as Callie, because I can't really call someone CL.
No.
Do people ever do that?
No, people always ask if I'm on a radio interview or something. They say, do I say CL or Callie? And I'm just, once you've introduced me as C.L.TAYLOR, you can call me Callie. Yeah. Oh, you're my friend. You can always call me Callie.
So CL / Callie is the author of many, many best-selling thrillers, including the new Strangers, which I am currently glued to on my Kindle. I am just coming up to halfway, and it's one of those books where I am halfway between wanting to rush on and actually wanting to savor it bit by bit. It's fantastic. I think it's your best one yet.
Oh, thanks, Kate. Yeah. A few people have said that, which is always lovely, because no matter, this is book 7, and no matter how many books I've written, I mean, you'll know this as well because you've written loads of books too, you're still really nervous when a new one comes out, just in case this is the book where you drop the ball and everybody hates it. But actually, it's got my highest Amazon review at the moment, so fingers crossed.
It's lovely because you're introduced to all of these different characters and they've all got their secrets, and it's not immediately clear how they're going to come together, but you've got the confidence, I think, which I always feel when I'm listening to an author that I really appreciate, and that is kind of really working for me at the moment. I know it's going to come together, I just have no idea how. So that is really cool, and that's even though I've brainstormed some of it with you. I'm like literally what is going to happen. It's really, really cool. So anyway, the format of this lunchtime is we're going to chat a little bit about what it's like to live with Callie, and and also we're going to play the cellar game. And the cellar game is where I have asked each one of our writers to come up with 3 possible housemates, and we're going to find out in a little while which of those housemates they would like to have in the kitchen, which they would like in the bedroom, make of that what you will, and which they would really like to lock in the cellar. And if anyone is watching would like to play it along and would like to guess, so we have got 3 housemates here. We've got Sandy Toksvik, we've got Gemma from Towie, and we've also got Marie Kondo. So Callie has chosen these, but we don't yet know which one of these is for which location, and we're going to find that out as we go through the show. So I'm going to hide those people now. First of all then, Callie, what do you think you're like as a housemate?
Oh, well, hopefully I'm better than I was when I was younger, because I'm pretty certain I know I was a bit of a nightmare. As a youngster in my 20s and early 30s, I was really, really messy. And my flatmates always used to say that I used to build a nest around wherever I was sitting, and it'd be referred to as Callie's nest. One flat share I lived in with a bunch of lads, actually. I think I shared with 4 lads and me. I was the messiest person in the house, and they got so fed up with me not doing my washing up that they used to take all of my plates where I just left them in the kitchen and put them in my food cupboard. So I'd come to make my dinner and then all my dirty plates were there. I like to think that I've got better since then. I do still like to make a nest because I like crafting. So I tend to have a corner of the living room where I'll have scissors and wool and embroidery, and it becomes like my little corner. Messiness, I don't now leave my dishes for days. I've got a partner and a child, and I am better, but I saw your thing with Rowan yesterday, and she said that she's messy, and I just have like a natural messiness, but every now and then it gets too much and I just go on a mad spree, and my partner's like, what are you doing? And I'm tidying. The house is so cluttered, it's so messy, and then I just go mad, and then it slowly builds up. But the more busy I am, the more messy I get, because who's got time for tidying up when you've got a book to write? So.
Exactly, until you reach the really hard bit of a book,
yes.
When suddenly all forms of housework, even the ones you would never consider before, become utterly irresistible and incredibly urgent.
Yeah, I did that the other weekend. I suddenly absolutely had to steam clean the kitchen floor, because I had a book to write. And the other day I decided to go through, I was supposed to be writing. I'm in my study, there's tons of books everywhere. Loads of them are proofs. And I was just like, I'm never going to read them all. I know, I'll go through every single book in my study, looking for all the proofs, and I'll put them in a box outside the front of my house for other people to take. So, that wasted a good hour. I can always find something to do that isn't writing. Sometimes it's cleaning the house, but there's loads of other things I can procrastinate.
Yeah, no, I can totally relate to all of that. So yeah, it's a weird thing, writing, in that it's on one hand it's the thing that we do because we love doing it, but on the other hand it becomes the thing that you will do whatever you can think of to avoid.
Yeah, it's starting is the worst thing. I think, I mean, loads of writers say this. They'll put off starting, and then I find I have about 20 minutes after I've sat down. I put noise cancelling headphones on. I listen to soundtrack music of action films. My favourite is I listen to the soundtrack of Hunted, the TV show with people running away from the police. That's got a brilliant. So yeah, that's got a brilliant soundtrack, and In Time, the film, actually a sci-fi film, and then it'll take me about 20 minutes to sort of warm up. But once I've warmed up, then I can go, sort of thing. But it's that initial putting your bum in the chair. It's I'm not the sort of person to jump out of bed and go, oh, I must go and sit at my computer and do some writing. It's more a sort of, I need to get 2,000 words written today. I better go and sit down. So.
And that feeling after is the feeling afterwards is good though, isn't it? It's that feeling of having written that is the satisfying one. You're like, I've got that for the day. Yeah. So we know that you have got a pretty twisted imagination, and I am looking forward to. I've got obviously the names of the people that you've picked for the cellar game. I wonder if you enjoyed picking them.
I had a massive dilemma about this, particularly about the bedroom one, because somebody immediately jumped into my mind, and I just thought, is that too pervy? So I and then there were quite a lot of people that I would have locked in a cellar. So yeah, there could have been quite a lot of people in my house share potentially. So it was a case of narrowing it down and thinking about it a bit.
So let us reveal then, in that case, the first of these people. Which is the housemate that you have chosen to spend time with in the cellar? In the kitchen. Almost got the
order. Yes, it would be the lovely Sandy Toksvig. I have loved Sandy Toksvig since she was the host of Number 73, a programme I loved as a child. And now she's in Bake Off, and she's such a good presenter. And the thing that I love about her is I'm a pretty rubbish cook. I don't really enjoy cooking. I find it quite stressful. There's lots of other things I'd rather do than cook. Same with baking. Lots of people find it really calming. I find it quite stressful. But lovely Sandy when she's on Bake Off and people are all stressed about, you know, I don't know, soggy bottoms or whatever, she comes over and she's very sympathetic, but she's also funny. And she's just somebody I'd love around in the kitchen, because I think she'd make me more chilled out.
Would she help you with recipes, or would she be doing it for you?
I think she'd be more there as like moral support. She'd be like my emotional support Sandy. I was really tempted to choose a cook for the kitchen, like Nigella or somebody. But you know, Nigella's really beautiful, and and I wouldn't want her anywhere near my partner.
No, that is a very good point. Whereas, you know, you'd be safe with Sandy.
Yeah.
Well, because she's not going to be making a move on your other half, which is a very good thing. So, we were talking about cooking then. What is your signature dish? Do you have one?
Well, if you ask my 8-year-old, his favourite of everything that I've ever made is sweet chili chicken. But now he's pescatarian, so we haven't actually had it for ages. So probably a veggie spag bol now is probably a close second, or mum's homemade pizzas. Get a really cheap pizza from Iceland or somewhere, do loads of different toppings, they go down really well. But I'm a rubbish cook. I've got so much respect for you, because I know that you're a brilliant cook and you've written diet books and stuff, but I don't know. To me, it feels like alchemy. How does this herb go with that spice, with this citrus, I have not got a clue. I can follow a recipe, but if you stuck me on Ready Steady Cook with a bunch of ingredients, or that round of MasterChef, which I love watching, where it's like, this is what you've got, I would be clueless. So yeah, it's not one of my strengths.
Never mind. We can't have we can't be good at writing amazing thrillers. And you're a real crafter as well, as you were saying before. You like to have your nest of bits and bobs. I've got William is saying here, look, nobody remembers Sandy Toksvig doing the sandwich quiz.
I remember the sandwich quiz. I loved it. Yeah. I loved it.
Did she make sandwiches, or was it a kind of sandwich?
I can't. It was something to. So she had like piles and piles of, I think it was white bread, and then jam, and then there was a quiz. And I think every time somebody got one right, she added another one. I'm not sure what she did at the end when there was a massive pile of sandwiches, but I definitely remember that.
You had to eat it. And Laura here is another big fan of FG. So there you go. It looks like you are not alone. If we return to this issue of being a housemate, obviously you're not maybe specialising in the cook. What about your fridge raiding tendencies? What would be the one thing that you would nick from the communal fridge, or that other people would nick of yours?
I would absolutely nick the cheese. I am a cheese fiend, and I have, for sure, apologies to any past housemates, snuck a little slice off the slab and wrapped it back up in cling film, or however it is. I love cheese, and if I had no cheese and somebody else had cheese, I would nick the cheese.
What do you have a particular favourite? But I know that now people are going to turn up to your events bearing cheese. If we were to have events ever again, would that be welcome, unwelcome? What would you like?
I love a kind of mature cheddar with a bit of a sort of saltiness to it. We went to Wookey Hole a couple of years ago, which is really close to us here in Bristol, and they put all their cheese in the cellar, these really cold, sort of damp cellars, and then it's sort of sealed in a wax. It's the most delicious cheese I've ever had. I'm not a huge fan of smoked cheese, but give me a brie or a Stilton. I love a Stilton with a bit of walnut. Oh, I'm gonna have to get some food after this.
I'm hungry as well. I'm mentally weighing up the cheese I've got in my fridge, thinking as it's publication day for me, I'm entitled to all the cheese.
Yeah,
so that's definitely the thing. Right. So having thoroughly discussed the kitchen side of things, let us get the cellar game pictures back up again. So the next question is, which of these two remaining cellar stroke housemates would you be picking for the bedroom?
Okay, this is the one where I had the real dilemma, because my first thought was I'm going to get Jason Momoa and put him in the bedroom. But, you know, that's a bit cheesy. So instead, I decided to go for Marie Kondo, because I am so messy and unorganized. And basically, the idea of sorting through my sock drawer or my pant drawer or my jumpers and working out what finds me joy and then folding them in certain ways, that's not a job I want to do on my own. I'm going to need support with that. Marie Kondo is the absolute queen of tidying. So if she could please go into my bedroom, sort out my stuff, sort out my partner's stuff, I would be a happier person. So yeah, Marie Kondo in the bedroom, and probably the rest of the house too.
Yeah, I like your thinking, definitely. Although, don't you think it would be really hard to live up to?
Oh yeah, I would be rubbish at keeping it going, and I'm pretty certain my partner, you know, if he'd done the washing, would just dump it in the drawer on top of all the carefully folded whatever. So yeah, it would never last. But you do feel good after a clear out. On the rare occasions that I have done one, and then you open your wardrobe and it's not like bursting out at you. It's a bit like, you do feel calmer. It's just very stressful doing it at the time. So yeah, she'd be a good support to talk me through it.
That sounds like a very good idea, and I kind of feel like she might be quite happy actually in your cupboards, to live in your cupboards in between times. It's all very ordered. They would now be there, and you could just kind of open Marie.
Yeah.
Like, thinking about that, maybe she's somebody we want on our sellers actually, so we could just get her out. That's not very fair on poor Marie.
Yeah.
But there we go. Now we have got a couple of updates here. So William has explained what happened in the sandwich game. She if they got the questions wrong. So there we go. This is a man who knows. Thank you very much for the update. And I've also got a little update here from Alison that you will like. Just read my first C.L.TAYLOR book, The Lie. Wow, it was fab. Starting The Missing now.
Oh, thanks, Alison. I'm really glad you enjoyed it.
So I'm glad that gives us a very nice segue from bedrooms into books. So your books, how much do you take into account, or do you picture when you're building your characters? Because your characters are really real and they feel like people we want to spend time with. Do you think about where they live and how they live when you're building them in your head?
Yeah. The home and where somebody lives is really important. I mean, the main thing I do is think about somebody's past before I do anything really, so I can build up who they are, what they're afraid of, what their hang-ups are, what they want, what insecurities that they have, all those kind of things. And in Strangers in particular, it did really matter about the homes that these people live in, because the three characters are all strangers, and a lot of the action in the book takes place in their homes. So we've got Alice, who is she's 46. She's been divorced for 2 years. She's got a 20-year-old sister, a 20-year-old daughter, who does live with her most of the time, but keeps going off to see her boyfriend. Then we've got Gareth, who's 49. He's a security guard. He lives with his mum, who's got dementia. And then we have got Ursula. Ursula's 32, and she's a kleptomaniac. She's also a courier. But something really dark happened in her past that means that she now steals to get rid of stress. It's a way of dealing with stress. She goes to the local shopping centre and she steals things from the shop where Alice works. And actually, Ursula gets kicked out of her house share, where she lives with her friend Charlotte and Charlotte's boyfriend, because she can't stop stealing. She steals things from both of them and their friends. And then she finds herself in a situation where she's looking for somewhere to live. And the only place that she can live is in a house share with her landlord, Edward. And Edward is a very strange man. And I just love the idea of taking somebody. I mean, Ursula has no comfort zone. You know, she's not had a home for several years because of this thing that happened in the past. So throwing her in with Edward, a complete stranger, is going to make anybody feel kind of wrong-footed and awkward. And I've done it myself. I've lived with strangers several times during my life, and it's always a bit weird as you get to know them and figure out whether you've made a massive mistake or not.
Yes, and I mean the strangers in this book are pretty strange. I mean, they. Yeah. I love them because what I think you're doing so well, and as I was saying at the beginning, I'm halfway through, and I just think that they are quite odd. They all have their odd little quirks. They're really interesting people, but still you manage that trick, which is quite hard, of making them relatable. And I think especially Ursula, I just love reading. I mean, she gets chucked out because she's really hard to live with, and then when she moves into this new place, and you kind of feel almost sorry for the person that's going to have her live there because you know what she's been up to, but then suddenly the sympathy shifts completely and you're like, okay, what is going on here?
I think there are, with Ursula particularly, she was such a fun character to write because she's 6'3" and she's very socially awkward. And she does have this thing that happened in her past that she feels really guilty about. And on the surface, you'd think, why on earth would I like a kleptomaniac shoplifter? But then you kind of get to know her a bit better and you understand her. And actually, she's very kind. And she wants to protect people. And that kind of side of her comes out in the story. But yeah, exactly as you say, you think she's a bit of an oddball, and then you meet Edward, her new landlord, and you're right. There are several people in the book who are a bit odd, and a lot of people with secrets that they're keeping. But it's fun to write characters like that, because I always try to make my characters flawed, and I always try to give them good qualities as well. But Ursula is definitely my most unusual character so far, and that's why she was so much fun to write.
She's really fun to read as well. I'm loving them all. We are going to go to the cellar game again now, so there's no prizes for guessing, given the fact we have already put Marie in the bedroom and we put Sandy in the kitchen, who is going to end up in the cellar. But what are you going to do to this final housemate?
So the final housemate is Gemma Collins, aka the GC. Now, I really liked Gemma when she first came on Towie because she's a bigger woman. I'm a bigger woman. And in fact, I have actually bought some clothes from Gemma Collins's website. But this whole GC thing drives me insane. She seems to use it as an excuse for bad behaviour. Like, oh, it's the GC. No, Gemma Collins, it's you acting up and being inappropriate. So I would lock Gemma Collins in my cellar every time she started to do that "it's the GC" thing, and rid her of all social media, because that's what feeds it, I think. She thinks the worse she behaves, the more her followers are going to love it. But I was very disappointed in her for not lasting out in the I'm a Celebrity jungle. And yeah, I can't abide diva-ish behaviour, and whenever she does that, it just drives me insane. So she'd have to be locked in the cellar.
But you're not talking about putting her there for absolutely forever. Then it's more of a naughty step.
Most definitely a naughty step. Whenever she pulls the GC diva behaviour, in the cellar you go.
I think that seems absolutely fair enough. I love the idea of having a cellar. I had a cellar in a house once, but and mostly I kept kind of stuff down there like that was just out of sight, but not living things. But yeah, a cellar is one of those things that I think is a nice thing to have. Just to have it up your sleeve.
Well, I have only lived in one house that I can remember, one flat share that I can remember with a cellar. And I was 18. I was on my gap year between school and university. I really wanted to go travelling, but my mum said I could only have a gap year if I did a secretarial admin course. Woohoo! But so rather,
it's like leave.
Yeah, go to Australia or go to Worcester Tech College and learn how to word process. Yay! Anyway, I agreed to it because I didn't want to go to university yet. I wanted a year out. So I shared a house with my friend and her parents, and for a bit, and I got kicked out for being too messy because I kept leaving crumbs on the kitchen surface that the cleaner had to wipe away. So I'm thinking maybe Ursula's a little bit based on me. Anyway, I then moved in with some strangers. There was an advert in the paper. That's how I used to do things in the days before the internet. And I went, and this really strange landlord dude answered the door. I went with two of the girls from my course, and he showed me around what was basically a tiny little single room in the top of the house. And then after we left, my friends from my course said to me, "You can't move in there. He's really weird." And I said, "Well, he lives next door, actually. I've got some flatmates that I'll be living with." And they were like, "But you haven't met them." And I was like, "I'm sure it'll be fine. It's £30 a week rent, bills included. It's so cheap. I've got no other options." So I agreed. And then I moved into this house share. And then I met my flatmates, who were possibly the most eccentric people I've ever met in my life. One of them worked in a baby food factory, and he stole some silver like bubble wrap, and he covered the cellar in it. So basically it was like walking into a room in a spaceship. And then another of my flatmates went to the park one night. He found a homeless guy, and he brought him back to our house and told him that he was going to sleep in the cellar from now on. So we had a homeless man sleeping in our silver bubble wrapped cellar for a couple of days, I think, until it got too much for him, and he decided he'd rather sleep on the streets than stay in our house, which was not entirely a bad move, given I would go to my course and come back, and one of my flatmates would go dumpster diving, and so I'd come back, and then the mantelpiece in the living room would have loads of headless dolls or dolls' heads just lined up on it. Other times I'd come back and they decided that it would be fun to rope all of the furniture together, so that in order to watch TV, you had to climb to the top to sit on the one armchair that was left in the room. But, I was 18, and after having been at school for all of these years, it was eye-opening, and it was exciting. And it was one of the most fun years of my life, to be honest. And when the cellar wasn't a place for a homeless man to live, they turned it into a climbing wall and put up loads of things so other people would come around and climb around in the cellar. You never knew what was going to happen in that house. I'm surprised I haven't written a book about it yet, but it all feeds in.
It sounds like a mixture of comedy and thriller, though.
Yeah, there was some slightly scary bits and a lot of surreal bits. But yeah, there was a lot of laughter in that household too.
Oh, it sounds really good. We've got a few comments here coming up. So Chris is saying she's just ordered Strangers. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Chris.
It's always nice to have. And Alison is saying that she's loving your bookshelf. I'm assuming mine is just my fireplace. It is pretty classy, actually. I keep meaning to get a kind of nice one organised like that. But it hasn't quite happened yet. So I also have a question here from Victoria. Hello, Victoria. How are you? Asking how your writing is going during lockdown.
Yeah, Kate and I were having a little chat about this earlier. It's not going brilliantly, if I'm honest. I am homeschooling my 8-year-old every morning. I have a dog that needs to be walked. And obviously Strangers came out on the 2nd of April, and all of my publicity was cancelled. So my sort of book tour of the UK, various interviews, radio interviews and stuff, all cancelled. So I've spent a lot of time over the last, was it 5 weeks since it's come out roughly, doing loads and loads of online stuff, virtual readings and interviews and stuff like that. And I'm writing, even though I have a book deadline for June, supposed to be the 1st of June. It's the 14th of May now. I'm only 47,000 words in. So I've asked for an extension. Kate's face. I'm about halfway through and I've only got, I got an extension till mid-June, but that still gives me 1 month to write half a book. To be honest, I can't see it happening. I think I'm going to need more time. I constantly feel stressed during the day because I'm like, I haven't done my words. But we're in a really unusual situation. And I think putting more pressure on myself on top of everything else that I'm dealing with, and that we're all dealing with, is probably not a good idea. So I'm trying not to stress about it. But even now, having this conversation, I'm thinking, afterwards, I'm going to get my lunch and then I might have a few hours to write before I have to make the dinner, or my partner makes the dinner or whatever. So, yeah, I hope it's less stressful for you, Victoria. How are you finding it, Kate?
I am at the moment, because I had the book out, obviously I've been doing quite a lot of promo things like this, which is great fun, a bit of a distraction, and gives you something else to focus on, whether it's kind of setting up the technology or doing fun things on Canva. I love making graphics, so that makes you feel busy but kind of doesn't involve the writing bit. And then I've been doing a lot of editing of a book under my whole new name, which I'll talk about some other time. But so that's been the thing. It has enabled me to put the work in progress to one side, but I know it's hard. It's I don't know if you're finding this, but it's so hard to imagine what people will feel like reading, the kind of stories they might want to read when this is all over, because it's such a collective traumatic experience almost. It's quite hard to know how we're going to feel kind of afterwards, or even when this is going to be over, of course.
Yeah. I'm trying not to think too much about the sort of landscape that the book I am writing now will go into, and just try and concentrate on the tale that I'm trying to tell, really. But you're in a weird situation, having a book coming out during lockdown. I know that you normally like to get out and about in Brighton and have a celebratory meal and a cocktail. How are you going to spend your day today?
Well, we are doing this kind of thing. I just while we were literally on air, I saw a man come to the door. Somebody was bashing on the door downstairs, and I managed to hide myself for a minute while I stuck my head out of the window in order to announce the man who's left a box of flowers downstairs. So that's exciting. So hopefully they will still be there, and nobody in lockdown will have kind of nipped by the time this broadcast is over. And then we are having a Twitter party later on, in fact. So that is myself and the lovely Eve Chase and the equally lovely Tammy Cohen, who's actually on this show tomorrow. And we're going to be on Twitter between 7 and 8. So if anyone is on Twitter as well as on Facebook, they can find us. If you look for the hashtag May 14th launch party, May 14 launch party, I'll put a little graphic of that up on the post as well. I mean, it is what it is. We're certainly in a privileged position to be okay, I think, in some ways. Laura's saying that she's going to add strangers to her wish list as well. So that's a very nice thing to have. So I think we're kind of almost at the end. I did want to ask if you had a hint or a tip for dealing with lockdown.
Yeah, my big hint is get yourself some noise cancelling headphones. These are my savior. If I'm in my office and I'm listening to music, it blocks out the rest of the house and the dog and delivery men banging on the door. If I'm downstairs, because they're Bluetooth, I can listen to music, and I can block out my son playing Fortnite. Noise cancelling headphones are your friend in lockdown, and I would be lost without them.
Okay, that is a very top tip. I have got some as well. They really do the job. So a few final points. So definitely buy Strangers. It is fantastic. Loving it to pieces. We have got, I've just got to get the picture up. As I mentioned, we have got the fantastic Tammy Cohen, who is also at my our joint launch party later on, but she'll be here at 1 o'clock tomorrow, revealing her house share secrets and what she's like to live with, and also her 3 picks for the cellar game. That is going to be fun. And also, kind of maybe if you're feeling like you've enjoyed this, you might like to consider buying my house share book. Red Magazine have very kindly said that it is a Black Mirror in book form, which I was very excited by. That was a very nice thing to hear. And it's available now. It's available in Asda, which is a great place. One of the few places you can actually buy anything at the moment, including books. So that's a very cool thing to know about. Amazon, for reasons best known to themselves, are saying that it is out of stock right now, but you can buy the ebook there, and you can also buy it from Waterstones online or the Book Depository, and I'm sure that Amazon will actually find it in their warehouse. It is there. It has been sent to them. They're just being a little bit strange at the moment about that, but kind of you get hold of it somewhere, and just it would be lovely to share the love, and also to share the love about this particular podcast or broadcast, which is also going to be available on YouTube to stream afterwards. So yes, if you have enjoyed our house share literary party, then do tell the world. Thank you so much to Callie for being here for my second one. It's given me a real buzz on publication day to have a writer I like and admire as part of things. And thank you for everyone who's come. And I look forward to seeing more people here tomorrow. And thank you very much for being a house guest, whoever it is, and wherever you've been watching. Bye for now.
Thank you.